I am an important gentleman named Eric Strauss. Eric Strauss is my name. So, anyway, what I wanted to tell you today is that you might as well face it. You're addicted to love. And this is fine. I'm obviously up on the early side this morning. It's 3:20 in the AM. Probably not, if you're looking for results anyway, the best conceivable time to live stream. But I have the softest MF on these YouTube screens. I have an odd sleeping schedule. So last night, went to bed on the early side. Took edibles before going to bed. The edibles actually worked pretty well, although it's kind of a weird hazy kind of edible high, rather than say like a knock you out to go to sleep edible high. But anyway, I woke up at 3 a.m. and I just uh, had to accept the fact that I probably wasn't going back to sleep right now. So I decided to get up, do a little live streaming, and try to kill a few hours. At 8:30 in the morning, like 5 hours from now, I'm gonna go to the store and get my Adderall. And it's kind of a busy day ahead of me. I need to fill out some paperwork, find out what's up with this thing we got. What thing did we get? This thing. Hot air balloon ride. Basically, it says anyway, there's an annuitized, what does it say here? Jane Strauss owned an annuity with Mass Mutual. A death benefit is now due to David Strauss. And if he's dead, then Eric Strauss. So I gotta find out what that's all about. Exactly, show me. Exactly. Thank you. You are correct. You might as well face it. You, show media, are addicted to love. This title was specifically for you because I knew how addicted to love you are. So when I sing that song for myself, it's like this: Eric, you might as well face it. You're addicted to drugs. Well, you're addicted to love. I'm addicted to drugs. We're on the same basic level here, show media. So, oh, you're addicted to toxic love. You're like Britney Spears, huh? Who's scratching at what? I hear scratching. Hmm. I don't know. It went away, the scratching sound. But show media, you're doing the job of a lot of different people right now because your laxative effect is powerful. I can feel the poop just dropping right now. Oh, yeah, I can really feel it making its way down my butt chute. A person's butt chute is the part of the inside of the butt the poop comes down from, um, like up in your lower intestine down into your butt tube. So let's go smoke a cigarette and discuss butt tubes a little bit more. I rather enjoyed looking at pictures from our wedding last night. I'm not a huge let's look at wedding pictures guy, but look great. I had never seen them, even though I was part of the wedding. Obviously, it's known as the groom because I was grooming Rachel for something. Apparently, grooming is bad, but not if you get married, it's fine, I guess. Butt shoot of love. That's amazing, show media, that they have an emoji for that. I'm really impressed that you were able to find the butt shoot of love emoji. Oh, I'll tell you, it is really rushing down the chute right now. I'm standing up so that I don't cause my poop to go back up inside my butt at all. Oh, there's gonna be a big poop, I can tell. We're pushing up on a colon blow here. Might as well face it, you're addicted to colon blows. So, pretty big day, a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, I need to fill out some paperwork and send it in. See what that annuity is all about. It'd be nice if it were. I mean, I'm not expecting it to be a whole lot, but if it nets, I don't know, 25, 30, 40 grand, that certainly would be helpful. But I don't know how much it's for. It doesn't say on the paper. Thanks, Mom. Thanks for having a life insurance policy that I didn't know about. FN says stop smoking. Okay, well, FN, I've got some different advice for you. I want you to start smoking. Because you're not getting enough tar in your diet. As Steve Martin once said. Yeah, I appreciate your 10-second timeout there. What the hell? Well, you give unsolicited advice, you get unsolicitedly timed out. Did I ask you for advice about my lungs? Did I look like somebody who wanted to be advised by a stranger about their personal habits? No, I don't look like that person. Brittany had no girl shift, was so cringe and fake she didn't commit, no gangbangs porno. What? I don't know what you're talking about here, Lim. Oh, you said it again. So, do you have other words you can say or just those words? So, what if I don't obey you? What happens if I fail to obey you? Oh, I know. I get to continue smoking. I tell you what, FN, I do something special just for you. Oh, I see what you're saying. When she tried to position herself as a bad girl, if she really wanted to position herself as a bad girl, she should have done some porn movies, huh? Okay, well, there are other ways to be a bad girl than just doing porn. She could have robbed the bank, you know. I think that would qualify as being a bad girl. Oh, yeah. Oh. Well, but you did a good job. My butt did an excellent job of pooping. I'm very proud of myself accordingly. That was a nice, big one-piecer. That's what you want in a poop. So, FN, have you started smoking yet? Because I told you to start smoking. And you need to obey me. So, we're going to buy a house today. Or start the process, you know. Escrow takes a little while. But it's such a great deal. I don't know how we could pass it up. It's kind of like exactly what we're looking for. Of course, now I'm wrestling with some. She won't say if she does, it's a joke, Brittany. I think she wouldn't be hurt by that joke because it acknowledges that she's not a bad girl. And she was one time at least when she cheated on Justin Timberlake. Thanks, Show Media. I appreciate Show Media telling me to stop pooping. But I also think that we should take into account what I was just saying, that maybe what Britney Spears should have done to prove to us that she was a bad girl is to rob a bank. To rob a bank in the outfit that she wore during the video of Hit Me Baby One More Time. Hello, Capillo. You're a beautiful kitty, yes. And Daddy loves you. Do you want some food? Do you need more food? Come on, let's go get you more food. Yeah, I miss FN too. FN, where did you go? You were contributing so much to the conversation. We needed you so badly. And you just left us. want it now, huh? So I put my can of butter back on warm with the notion that it probably didn't simmer quite long enough. But, it's not ineffective. It works. I'm just not sure. It's. I think it could use another hour or two on crock pot warm. Because some of the recipes for can of butter say things like simmer it at a very low temperature for 8 hours. So we just did it for like an hour and a half in the crock pot on warm last night, and hello, and it still worked fine, really. I see Rachel took all her perfumes back. That's good. So I don't have to clean up a bunch of perfumes. Anyway, I'm really proud of my butt, myself, for doing such a good job of pooping. When you go to poop now, everything is beautiful. Eric talks bad about cigarettes for a bit, FN. So you're telling me there's a chance? Well, she is a human. I don't think we should be mean to Britney Spears. I feel bad for Britney Spears because, for one thing, she's pretty clearly very, well, yeah, I know it's a Dumb and Dumber reference. I have seen that film. Speaking of Dumb and Dumber, Britney Spears is probably dumbest. That girl, that woman is not very bright. I really understood just how not very bright she was maybe a couple weeks ago when I read a social media post of hers in which literally it was like a whole paragraph, I don't know, 5 or 10 sentences or something. And no shitting you, every single sentence ended with at least 3 exclamation points. Her loneliness is killing her. Yeah. My loneliness is killing me. I must confess, I still believe, still believe. Hit Me Maybe One More Time is a really good song. Really well written song. And of course, I'll tell you what else is a really well written song. Baby, I can't wait to know. At Eurovision Song Contest, I'm very impressed. They pick they pick the right winner. Normally anything gets broad enough, they stop having good taste. Like the the most popular stuff is rarely the best, although there are plenty of exceptions. Like "Toxic" by Britney Spears, "Hit Me One More Time." Those are great songs. Um, but but generally speaking, the very best stuff is not the stuff that gets a billion views, the stuff that gets, a million views. Occasionally you'll get one of those super big songs that's pretty rad. I know you were joking, Show me. I did not think you were actually telling me to stop talking. would be a futile, a futile endeavor for sure. Trying to get me to stop talking. It's what I do. Where's the other concentrate? Oh, whatever. I don't need any concentrate on it, I guess. I'll make you happy, baby. Just wait and see. For every kiss you give me, I will give you 3. I'm not typically inclined at all to do this, but we were looking at those wedding pictures last night, and you're like, hello, April. At that moment with that picture, I have to admit, I was slightly thinking the same thing. Yeah. Anyway, I'll just leave it at that. Hi, Twist. You're a real twist in this narrative here called Talking with Famous People. Do you also shout? Or you just twist? Well, that bong rip was fine. Oh, yes, we are smoking weed. We are smoking weed because, after all, I just got up. And that means it's time for breakfast bong rips. So I'm guessing, Twist, you must be a big fan of twist ties. Is that how you tie all of your packages up, with twist ties? Here we go. The Beatles didn't write Twist and Shout, right? That's a cover. Am I correct about that? I'm pretty sure that's a cover. It's weird that the Beatles covered that song. Like, you don't think of them as a band that covers stuff, you know? You do macrame. Nice. Macrame. That's a very grandmotherly thing to do. Macrame. Uh, it's like knitting, right? But with thicker thread or something. But my name here is an acronym. It's the way I see things. Huh. The way I see things. Don't bully. Who am I bullying? Am I bullying Twist because I said macrame is kind of a grandma activity? That doesn't mean I don't like it. I really like the idea of grandma activities. In fact, I sewed last night. I did some sewing last night. I sewed up a hole in my pillow that kept spitting out feathers. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. I know that's no macrame, but it's in the sewing arts category. That's why they call me pretty seamstress. Yes, bigger thread, and you do knots into patterns. All right, cool. So I don't know what this is called, but Rachel's I guess, stepmom or dad's girlfriend, whatever you want to call her. Uh, she made a Christmas decoration. It was like a circle with a wooden circle with like cloth or whatever, and then she sewed like this Christmas scene into it. So the front it looks really cool. On the back it looks like kind of messy, you know. Uh, I don't know what that's called. Maybe embroidery. Well, I can't type you successfully from the chat, Twist. I'll warn you that right now. I can never type anybody from the chat. She's So Heavy is such a good song. So relatable. She's So Heavy is a good song for sure. It goes on a little long, and normally I don't have that complaint about Beatles songs. I think that one's a little bit too long. Baby, I can't wait to know. Boom, 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 boom. What type of produce do you type me as? Uh, I think you are a pomelo. It's a large, fairly uncommon citrus fruit. In case you don't know what a pomelo is, but you could possibly be a kumquat. Kumquat sounds like something you'd refer to a girl in a porno movie as. You're a kumquat. Um, but you know, it's like I think I'm a head of romaine lettuce, and I think show media is probably garlic. Produce typing. Well, produce typing is about telling you what your Chinese fruit or vegetable is. You know how they got like the year, the tiger year, or whatever. Well, they've also got personality typing in China based on produce. You can be either bok choy, romaine lettuce, garlic. You're feeling pretty right now, huh? Well, pomelo it is. Pomelos are pretty. They're they're very enticing looking fruit. If you saw one on a tree, you'd be like, and you were, just like in the wilderness, you'd be like, wow, look at that big fruit. Am I really 22? Yeah. I know I look a little old for my age, but yes, I'm really 22. That is Chinese for pomelo. I have that disease where you look really old, really young, you know, old man disease or whatever it's called. That's why I look this way. I guess I have KE's problem, the problem that KE articulated yesterday, which I had not thought could possibly be a problem, but according to KE, her skin's not elastic enough. So maybe that's my problem as well. My skin is not elastic enough. Sure, you might say, why do you need elastic skin? And I wouldn't disagree with you. But chicks are different about that stuff than guys are. Like I don't worry about my appearance very much, even though I do intend here at some point still to get my teeth fixed somewhat, you know. Hi, Capillo. Look at you. What a wonderful kitty you are. Yes, I see you. Why do you always go rub up against that plug over there? Is that your plug? Is that what you're saying? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And Daddy knows. And Daddy loves. You want to go outside? She wants to go outside, I think. Capillo, do you want to go outside? Or are you just standing inside the door? Oh, why? In or out, kitty? In or out? In. All right, in it is. We will go out to the garage where we can enjoy a fine American Marlboro Red. Who's Trouble? A cat? Yes, Trouble is our other cat. This cat is Capillo, and our other cat is named Trouble because that's what he is. He's nothing but trouble. He's like a dick to his sister all the time. Did you learn Chinese during the time you lived in China or during one of my transracial transitions into Chinese? I learned a tiny bit of Chinese when I was there, you know, stuff that I needed to function. Like, I learned how to tell the taxi driver where to go to take me home. I just told him, Hong Chao Lu, Shui Chang Lu. It means those are two streets. I want to go to the intersection of those two streets, you know. I didn't learn the word for intersection. I just said, Hong Chao. I put like my fingers like this to show that I'm at the intersection of Hong Chao Lu, Shui Chang Lu. And the taxi driver would successfully get me home. But no, I didn't learn a lot of Chinese. When I was there, I did spend some time attempting to memorize, and I had it memorized and I could say it pretty well. The China on the subways, it said the things in Chinese and then in like Hong Kong English. So he would say blah, 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 about the next train stop, or you know, like wait, oh well, this is the one I was memorizing. When you get off of it, and you went to get on the escalator to go up, there was this recording that looped. Then first said in Chinese, and then this lady said in English, "Please hold the handrail and watch your step." And so I learned how to say that in Chinese. Please hold the handrail and watch your step, because it just repeated on a loop. And I decided one day I wanted to learn the Chinese version of it, but I don't remember it at all now. Once I stopped practicing it, I lost it. Hong Chao Lu means Rainbow Bridge Street? I have no idea. Maybe. Stop in the name of love. I take it back. I take it all back. So it's actually pretty chilly here in the garage. I could probably, uh, I could probably put a jacket on and be substantially warmer. Well, I've killed about an hour almost now. Um, I've got about 4.5 more hours to kill before I go to the grocery store. Which, it's fine. This is fine. So this actually is fine, so it's fine. I only have one concern about this property that we're gonna buy. I walked around the whole thing. There's a crack in the foundation. It goes all the way around. But I Googled it, researched it a lot last night. Who do you think is a good typist on YouTube or Discord? Uh, that are free? I don't know. I think Amy generally seems to do a pretty good job. At least Amy tries to do it my way, which is the most I can ask for, from a typologist. She understands cognitive functions. She tries to understand them as I explain them and tries to type as I type. So I approve of her, even though she doesn't always get it right. A lot of people seem to get typed by her before they get typed by me. So, that's the one person I typically recommend besides myself. I tell you who I definitely. I don't know who Adele is. I'm assuming you don't mean the singer. Uh, one person I definitely would not recommend is Spacey. After talking to multiple people who've been typed by him, and talking with Ruben at some length about his experience being typed by him, I cannot possibly recommend him as a typist. Or Spacey, I keep meaning to message him and see if he's doing okay. Well, there was a time period where I made that effort as well. I tried to repair the trouble. Hey, you leave your sister alone. Also, if you're 17, you think your type will be truthful. Well, I think your relationship with typology and what you think your type is and how interested are in it and stuff, it probably has a lot to do with what type you are, much more than your age. Meow. 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 What do you want? Hmm? He's like in this mood where he's purring, meowing right next to me, but if I try to pet him, he'll probably swipe at me. You know, he's got this weird thing. Like if he gets too purry, then he'll start getting swipey. Swipe or no swiping? When he does swipe at you, if he catches you even a teeny bit with his razor sharp claws, you will bleed. Like in that Joni Mitchell song. She knew your devils in your dreams, and she said, go to him, stay with him if you can, but be prepared to bleed. You're in my blood like holy wine. You taste so bitter and so sweet. Oh, I could drink a case of you, darling, and I would still be on my feet. Yeah, I would still be on my feet. I think she's an ENFP. Yeah, she's got some great lyrics on that album. That album Blue is just it's it's perfectly named. It's straight blue. Just it's the saddest album in the history of mankind. You know, it and all the songs on it are sad, and all the songs on it are good. Although they're not all equally good, maybe, but they're. It's a brilliant album. It's one of the greatest albums of all time. I dissociate sometimes. First happened when I was 10, but apparently this is normal for SE users because of inferior NI, which I don't seem to understand. I mean, I've never heard that before. I don't know. I'm not sure what you mean by dissociate. Like you feel like you're on PCP or something, or a lot of ketamine. Like I wish I had a river. Oh my god, it's such a sad song, which got such great lyrics. It's coming on Christmas. They're cutting down trees. They're putting up reindeer and singing songs of joy and peace. So I wish I had a river I could skate away on. By dissociate, I mean like if I'm in a new environment or like when I'm in my class, it feels dizzy. Okay, I had that experience, Zane, of dissociating when I was doing a memorized speech. When I was in high school, I was on the speech and debate team, and I did both speech and debate events. And I never experienced this when I wasn't doing something memorized, but whenever I did a memorized speech, I had this weird kind of like out of body experience. Like I'd feel like I was kind of floating above my body watching myself do the speech. It was really strange. It only and always happened when I was doing a memorized speech with a memorized set of movements I was supposed to do because that's how they coached it, back when I was in high school. K.E., good morning. How are you? It is wonderful to see you. The most dissociated I ever felt, though, was when I was in the K hole. A horrible place to be, let me tell you. You got to get into mindfulness. Well, I don't think that experience is indicative of anything regarding your type. Zane. I don't know who told you that, but I have no reason to believe that whatsoever. So it doesn't follow naturally from what we do know about cognitive functions. It might be true, but there's zero reason to think that it is. So in that regard, I would not take your dissociative experiences as indicative of anything about your type. And I am so glad that you are feeling better today, KE. And I'm happy to report that even though you've been around us a lot, you didn't get me sick anyway. So I appreciate that. I guess you've been wearing a mask. Zane's a guy. So you lose your bet, KE. What did you wager? Your pride? I don't know my type, lol. Well, you're not the only person who doesn't know their type. So, welcome to Talking with Famous People. Meow, ha ha ha. I like your name a lot. And you chose the 50% that say lose. Meow, ha 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 is, is a wonderful name. I like it a lot. Meow, ha ha ha. Thanks, show media. I can't tag people. You don't have an at symbol. You'll notice that even though show media wrote at twist, it didn't make it into like a link or anything. You have inferior SI. So was it studying at school and stuff? Were you any good at school? I mean, I was naturally very good at school, but I was not good at doing my homework and stuff. I was naturally best at language arts stuff, but I was perfectly competent at math and science stuff, except like there were certain things I just hated. Like I hated chemistry beyond all measure. And I just cheated my way through that whole class. So was I good at studying? Well, I learn very quickly. I retain what I read. I only need to read it one time, usually, unless it's super complicated. Yes, I am carrying and birthing awesomeness. KE, would you say that you're gravid with awesomeness? I think you are. You're gravid with awesomeness. If you're not currently using the word gravid, I think you should consider incorporating it into your vocabulary. It means large or bursting with. So if somebody's pregnant, they are gravid with child. Well, I'll Google it. I'll Google it for you. Gravid. Gravid comes from Latin gravis, meaning heavy. It can refer to a female who is literally pregnant, and it also has the figurative meaning of pregnant, full, or teeming with. Thus, a writer may be gravid with ideas, although that's a terrible use of it. A cloud may be gravid with rain, or KE may be gravid with awesomeness. SP2, SP3, SP2, SP2, 2P3, S3P2. Is that? I don't know what that is. Like shitty dark blah blah. It was in my NE test from years ago. Hurts my head. I can't remember. Okay. All right. That's fine. I hated yes, gravid is a word in English. It means pregnant with, teeming with, or about to burst with. So if you want to tell somebody that they're pregnant in a fancy way, you say, "You are gravid with child." How do I test extroverted intuition? It's interesting. There are three sort of standard creativity tests, and I just found out about them the other day. I didn't really realize that the rat test, which I've known about for a while, is a gravid chicken. No, you can't be gravid chicken. Yeah, it would have to be something that's gravid with chicken. You could say like a turducken is a turkey that's gravid with duck. When's my birthday? April 27th, 1971. The RAS test, it stands for Random Associates Test. And it's a psychology test that some people think tests creativity. There are two other creativity tests that are commonly used in psychology to test creativity. And so anyway, not the rat test, but the other two tests of creativity are very much like my extroverted intuition test. How many different possible uses can you think of for this thing? Or like my test, how many different names, like good marketing names, can you make for an invention I come up with? I mean, a snappy name to sell it. How many different ones can you come up with? That's one of my expert intuition tests. Those kind of creativity tests are I mean, those kind of my extrovert intuition tests are very much like the second two kinds of creativity tests that aren't the rat test. So, but I've found that the rat test doesn't correlate clearly with any particular cognitive functions. It does seem to correlate generally um, with like word fluency. Bucket, suck it. A K poem. I like it. I like it, K. So, it's just it my having used the rat test plenty of times and looked for plenty of linkages and tried to establish that it did this or that. I just could never make I couldn't. It tests more than one cognitive function. The other two creativity tests are almost exclusively extroverted intuition tests that psychology uses. I don't remember what they're called. But if you were to Google creativity test, look at the Wikipedia article on it, you would find that they have these three tests they use. Uncle Fatty has come in. Welcome, welcome. He's come in and admitted it. My name's Uncle Fatty, and I am addicted to love. That stretch did feel good. Do I miss Ruben already? Uh, Not actively. I still get to see him around here, and at the moment, we've got interesting stuff going on. So I'm thinking about that. Yeah, it's a big day, a lot of stuff going on. High winds today, it says. Strong gusty winds begin at 12 p.m. Well, I hope they don't. I hope they don't blow over any trees. Does the ghost of Ruben still haunt me? No, I do think about like I'm inspired by him a little bit. Like, try to stay more on top of the trash, Eric. Try to tie it up. I don't have any good SE tests. I basically don't test SE. You can ask questions. The only questions I ask that are really SE kind of questions are, what's your relationship with procrastination? And like values questions like, do you value more impact or reliability? What's the quote of the day? Hmm. Roses are red, ripe for the plucking. You're 16 and ready for high school. Kurt Vonnegut. It's a pretty good quote, right? I just think it's a funny quote. you know, First of all, that wouldn't even qualify as pedo. There's a different word for that. Like, if somebody, you're dealing with like a 16-year-old or something. It's also not acceptable. I'll agree with you, but it's not pedo at all. There's nothing pedo about it. I wonder how you pronounce my name, Rioli. Rioli. Who types use ESFP? KE is not an ESFP. She just likes to say that, okay? And KE, if you cannot agree that that is a funny quote, then you need to get your crusty bun out of your butt. Some people call you Rioli instead of Rioli. Yes, KE is an ENTP who likes to say she's something other than an ENTP just because she's, intellectually disruptive. And she likes photos of herself spitting into mugs. I don't think you are. Again, this is a Kurt Vonnegut quote that I thought was funny. Okay, if you don't think it's funny, fine, but probably not the best quote to choose, I guess. Just the first funny quote that came into my mind. Dyslexic landscapers told me to watch the kids and mow the lawn, but instead looked at the grass and mowed the youngins. Well, that's why you shouldn't give them written instructions. Maybe it's not a cup. If it's not a cup, is it just a stage cup? It's just the facade of a cup. Behind it, there's nothing. A cup that's full is filled with a drink you don't like. Do I believe in ghosts? Um, Meow. I would certainly have said no just a couple of years ago. I've never seen a ghost, but I don't think it's impossible that something there's some retention of self after death. Right. I mean, there's no reason to definitively conclude either way. The fact that we can't establish that ghosts exist doesn't mean they don't, and the fact that we can't establish that they don't exist doesn't mean that they do. So neither appeal to ignorance, obviously, is going to produce anything good, because either way, we're engaging in fallacious reasoning, which is sometimes called the very worst kind of reasoning. It's fallacious reasoning. You do believe in ghosts, and souls are different. I believe that, oh, you believe that ghosts and souls are different. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough on that distinction. I'll agree with you that I didn't respect that distinction when I was answering the question. Um, Ghosts, like transparent white dead people that you see, I don't think I believe in those. Well, I mean, I know I don't believe in them, but I acknowledge that I could be convinced if I had a personal experience that was adequately convincing. Maybe it's because I'm an SI type, but I need to have a personal experience that included the visual spectrum, I think. Like, in other words, I need to see a ghost and have a good little bit of chunk of time to really look at it and be like, is that definitely a ghost? Yeah, that's definitely a ghost. Then I'd be convinced. Well, I want to know what you're talking about, though. Like, I'm curious. I like paranormal stuff a lot, so I want to know what you're talking about, and I want to hear if you believe in ghosts. I want to hear why and what made you believe in them. I had a really interesting conversation with. Well, I typed this lady. I think she was ISTJ, if I remember correctly. But anyway, she was a nurse, an oncology ward nurse, and she said that, like, frequently what happens in she said, like, some places are this happens more than other places too, but that the moment somebody dies, like, if the TV's on in their room, it'll get all like right when they die. That's trippy. She said she seemed very non. I was the one who drove the conversation towards asking her about this when I found out what her job was, and you know, she described experiences that would probably have convinced me. So, and she seemed like a very level-headed lady. She was not a bullshitter at all. But I don't really know. Oh, I watch a lot of Asian stuff. I watch the shit out of Asia. I am the biggest anime head in the history of the world. Are you talking about Yukai or what? Also, the stories of cats at hospitals getting close to those who are about to die. Practicing an art, no matter how well or badly, is a way to make your soul grow, for heaven's sakes. Vonnegut was a weird dude, lots of moldy bread. Yeah, I've watched JoJo's. Um, well, Vonnegut is a very sad story. He's somebody who got like hot and famous fairly late in his life with Slaughterhouse. I mean, in middle age, maybe 40 something, with Slaughterhouse Five, and then left his family for some young chick. Horrible. What would I type the JoJo protagonist? I mean, KE, I beg to differ. You have no, you have no idea how much anime I've watched. I have watched everything worth watching. Okay. I have scraped the bottom of Crunchyroll's barrel, and Crunchyroll is a very large barrel. I have scraped the bottom of Netflix's barrel of anime. I have scraped the bottom of every barrel of anime. Okay, let's have a contest then. I'll start listing all the anime I've watched, and you tell me which ones you have also watched. How about that? Now, sure, if you're watching a bunch of dumb girl anime, then maybe you'll have more breadth of viewing in that area than me. Do I think Giorno from JoJo Part 5 is INFJ or INTJ? I do not remember it that well. Like I say, I've watched shit tons of anime, so much that JoJo's is pretty memorable. Ones that are like slice of life romance ones where nothing happens except the girl and the boy get closer and then kiss or whatever. Those kind of anime. Trouble, you better leave your sister alone. Trouble. Stop being a dick. Leave your sister alone. He's like, she's not my sister. You watched Gintama a long time ago. Still the most iconic anime. Well, the current season's not quite as gravid with choices as the previous season. Last season was, fall. This is winter now. But like yesterday, the only thing that came out that I watched was The Witch and the Beast episode 2. I'm not sure I'm that into Delusional Monthly magazine. I watched part of the first one. Um, they also premiered yesterday Brave Bang Bravern episodes 1 and 2. I haven't watched it yet, but I plan to. Uh, Friday is a good day. Like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's like one or two things each day is all. Classroom of the Elite season 3 is good. Sengoku Yoku is good enough. But that's and Dr. Elise, the Royal Lady with the Lamp. That's good. That's a very good one. That comes out on Wednesday. I like Tuesdays, Villainous Level 99, and maybe The Hidden Boss, but I'm not the Demon Lord. That's a good show, but that's the only thing that comes out on Tuesday. And then Monday has um, Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy Season 2, which I really like that a lot. That's really good. But that's the only thing really Monday has going on. Today, however, is Friday. And Friday, Saturday, Sunday are good days on Crunchyroll. Because Friday, this morning at 5:30, in an hour, Sasaki and Peeps comes out, which I love. Then at 6:30, Unwanted Undead Adventure comes out, which I love. At 7, Weakest Tamer Began a Journey to Pick Up the Trash. I love that. Comes out at 7:30. And then Frieren Beyond Journey's End comes out at 8. And that's just like so kick ass. I don't even know what to do with myself. The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic is great. Comes out at 9. And then I don't really like The Demon Prince of Momochi House. The Demon Prince of Momochi House is an example of it's better than a straight dumb girl cartoon, but um, it's basically a dumb girl cartoon. Did I watch Sayuki? I have to look it up and see if I've watched it. Was it on anime? I mean, was it on Netflix? I mean, if it was on Netflix. Then yes, I've watched it. I think. I think I know what you're talking about. And I think the answer is yes. No, I don't think I've watched this. But determining whether someone's an anime connoisseur by whether they watched an anime released in 1999 and 2000 is a terrible way to evaluate who knows anime. Older anime, even the best of it, is not as good as contemporary stuff coming out. The art form's evolving, right? Obviously, there are some good old ones, like Hajime no Ippo is great. You can't go wrong with Hajime. Well, so have you watched Hajime no Ippo? Have you watched all of Hajime no Ippo? Have you? It's KE? No, I agree quality over quantity. But what I'm saying is you don't have access to the best quality shit if you're watching anime that old, for sure. If you're not watching current anime, you're not even relevant about it. So get the fuck out of the conversation. You know, if you're not if you're not live streaming now because the first anime hasn't come out yet this morning, then you don't belong in this fucking conversation. All right, that's what it means to be a real fucking otaku. I have to live stream because my anime hasn't come out yet. That's a real otaku, okay? You weeb. Yes, I am king of the otakus. Deal with it. You're not even waiting for anything to come out today, are you, KE? You're not waiting for a single show to come out. Oh, you have superior taste. Really? So which is your favorite show on the current winter Crunchyroll season? Which is your favorite show? Okay, well, they don't just have Isekai. Which is your favorite show on the currently being released Crunchyroll season? It doesn't have to be an Isekai. You don't even know. You don't even watch any of them. So shut the fuck up. Bam. Take that. If you were relevant in anime KE, what you would know is they're really evolving reincarnation genres to actually excise the isekai part entirely. That's where we're moving right now in the medium, which I know because I keep up with it constantly. You gotta stay current to stay relevant, KE. You gotta stay relevant to stay current. Both works. It's biconditional. And that, my friends, is one to grow on. Case closed, game set match. And the court, KE, has found you guilty of not watching enough anime. And they found me guilty of being the world's biggest otaku. KE is what's called a potaku. It's a portmanteau of poser and otaku. Are you still trying to argue your case, KE? I'm not even putting on my glasses. Like I said, this case is closed. Game, set, match. You are guilty. You'll have to wait till I go back inside you and look at what you're saying. So yeah, today's a super good day for anime. I'm excited. I'm excited to watch Sasaki and Peeps, which I like a lot. It's a guy who has a magical bird that transports him back and forth between modern day Japan and the magical world. It pleases me. For KE to say isekai ruined anime is for KE to say sound ruined motion pictures. I like the old silent movies best. Change is bad. I'm an old man. I'm KE. I want things to stay the same all the time. Stop being such an old man, KE. Oh. Yeah, Apothecary Diaries is fantastic. All right. You win that point. You do watch a little bit of anime right now. But there are no bad genres, KE. There are just excellent shows and subpar shows that aren't that excellent, you know? Sure, I may not like love story ones. That's so not true, KE. Like, you take like Frieren Journey's End. There's no isekai element to it at all, but it is a fantasy world setting, and it's really deep. You know, it's extremely deep. It's the deepest show going on right now. Um, every time I watch it, I cry, sort of tears of existential awareness. You know, um, Jobless Reincarnation 2 and 1, incredibly deep show, and an isekai and a love story, an incredibly deep, moving, profound story of human transformation. If you aren't watching those shows, you're missing out, you know? If My Happy Marriage is really that good, then I don't really care what genre it is. I'll watch it, you know? I find that straight love stories, they're not for me, you know? I'm not a chick, so I don't really like that stuff that much. But if it's compelling, absolutely I'll watch it. And Apothecary Diaries is great. Um, the first season was kind of mind blowing, right? Like the way the various storylines intersected was just amazing. Hmm. Well, I get it. I sometimes watch things that I find just wholesome and calming. Like they released this old one just the other day called it's called like Princess Momo Mimi or something like that, and it's like a kids cartoon, but I like it. It's exactly what you say there. It's wholesome and calming and and silly. Like it's ridiculous. It just smells like the late '90s. The John Leguizamo Romeo and Juliet was killer. I haven't seen it. Yeah, Rizzo, we are just playing. Katie and I, we know how to fake fight for fun. We wouldn't bother fighting over anime, I'm sure. I do believe that I probably watch more anime than Kate does, but I'm not sure at all if that's something to brag about. I think KE should probably be shaming me for watching so much anime rather than trying to compete against that. So let me get this straight. You're a 52-year-old man who watches cartoons all day. Yep. I would if I hadn't run out of cartoons to watch. Sword Art Online was good. Um but yeah, I mean it was good enough that I think I well they haven't all become isekai. And anyway, there's a lot of variation within the genre. Like not I like the fact that there's a common tropes like Truck Coon, you know. It wasn't the best ever or anything, but it was good. I enjoyed it. It kind of got worse as it progressed, but at least I liked how it completed the storyline. And you're not even being contrarian. Are you sure, KE? You're not being a little contrarian? Like I'm not saying SAO is any kind of gold standard, but it's not bad. there's plenty of setup, right? They start playing the game. They're excited because they're beta testers. Then the whole like they get stuck in it and they all get like put in hospitals and stuff. What do you mean there's no explanation? That's a perfectly good explanation. Okay, I'll agree it's a little bit juvenile. Have you seen the colored television movie called The Pokemons? Okay, I'm not going to dispute your critiques in this matter here, Katie. I will agree that the characters were quite two-dimensional in SAO. It was not a especially deep cartoon at all. But it was the proto isekai, so it was a proto isekai. So what do you expect? The genre is gonna evolve over time. The whole harem and reverse harem thing. I think I probably prefer reverse harem ones if they're based on otami games where like the girl tries to date all the different princes, like all the different princes are after her. I like those ones where she gets isekai'd into the otami game. There's one of these that I'm watching right now is one of those. It's a Otami Isekai. I like it a lot. I think it's the villainous one. I'm not sure exactly what the title of it is. Where I'm just like one or two episodes into each of the new seasons. Well, I agree that you're not trying to split any difference here, Katie. Thank you for not attempting to compromise. Is that what you're asking me to acknowledge? Good job for that. I agree. Compromise is dumb. Like, at least I'm not giving you any FE. You're right, Katie, and I appreciate that. This had never happened for for years, and then in the last like 6 months, I've had multiple instances where somebody PayPal's me, I don't notice, and they say, "Hey, PayPal, can you tell this guy to give me a refund?" Which I immediately do when I see that, but it's like, oh, I don't want to be, I don't want to get like a bad reputation with PayPal or anything. I mean, I always give the refund right away, but it, I'm mad at myself for being that unprofessional. It's just sometimes I don't check my email for a few days. I'm counting on my phone to pull up a notification that says you received an email from PayPal. It doesn't seem to notify me about all the emails though. All right, well, I think I'm gonna go back to bread. I feel tired now, and um, this is a topic that gets your heart beat up, that gets me heated up. Oh, you mean it's like anime is the kind of stuff? Well, you know what you need? You need a nice bowl of ramen. That's what you need. You need to go back to work. Are you already at work? It's 4:50 in the morning. Even if you're on the East Coast, it's not 8 a.m. yet. You work too much, Katie. You should relax. Maybe try getting sick and staying home for a while. Oh, wait, you just did that. Yes, you do need a YouTube channel to rant. Oh, you're in Europe. Well, I didn't know I was dealing with a foreigner. That's okay, KE. I forgive you for being a foreigner. You've been working like 6 a.m. since 6 a.m. Well, you have been off for a few days, so I guess it makes sense that you want to get back into the flow of things. I understand that. Um, have you gotten a lot of work done, or have you just been at work since 6 a.m.? You're productive in the morning. Yeah, I'm usually most productive in the morning too. I remember when I used to work full time, I would always get so tired like at 2 in the afternoon. I'd need to take a nap, but when I was working at Rebay, I would during the lunch hour a lot of times take a nap, lock my door to my classroom, and take a nap in there. So I don't know what your sleep number bed is, but I'm one of those people who is best served to sleep multiple chunks in a day more than like a full 8 hour chunk. Hi, human glitches. I think I actually have a big thing done and rolling. A childhood dream for someone and could lead to a few mils in the revenue. Well, that would be great, Katie. I wish you all the best in that. I hope you make a lot of money and you do the success baby thing. Yes. We got big things going on right now too. Buying a house. Well, I know, but if you can extract a chunk of change out of the whole endeavor, then cha-ching. Donka Donka suggests you might be in Germany, sometimes called Germammy. What do you think about the idea that we are humans and illusion because we are made of parts, and when you remove the parts, there'll be nothing left, and therefore we are nothing? I mean, I think that runs afoul of the reality of synergy. That for dynamic systems, it's the case that the whole is more than the sum of the parts. That they can't be understood deconstructively like that. That you have to acknowledge that there's a holistic dynamism to the system that it exists because of its completeness, not because of any of the particular parts in it. So basically, human glitches, the question you ask is this: what do you think about the idea that there is no holistic identity? Well, I think that's just denying introverted intuition as a way of being. Because a way of paying attention is really a way of being. And one way that we be is to understand things holistically, to know with our intuition. That's just too stereotypical and predictable. What is too stereotypical and predictable? Could be would be a cool rap name. I agree, Zane. Could be is a cool rap name. Do you think typology environmental or genetic predominantly? Um, well, I would say if given those two choices, I would say genetic because I feel pretty. I'm just trying to apply the same ship of Theseus to humans. Not sure what the ship of Theseus is. Um, I'm pretty sure we're born with our type, but I could equally well say we're born with our dominant function. I'm not sure, maybe our tool function is determined sometime after birth. But do I feel SI genetically? I I feel like I don't remember my birth or anything, so I don't know what I was like when I was born. But I do remember my daughter's birth in her early time, and she seems to have been an ESTP from the get go, or at least an SE down from the get go, like SI ignoring. So, what does that look like in a newborn baby? Well, my daughter, we couldn't go home from the hospital because she wouldn't go pee after she was born. She didn't go pee and wouldn't go pee until uh, they changed nurse shifts and a new nurse like held her under some warm water in a sink or something, and then she finally peed. Well, that's SI ignoring, if you ask me. Seems like SI ignoring, right? Well, right there, what I'm saying is birth. From my observations of my own daughter, and also I've typed plenty of children. I used to be a school teacher, and when I was director of Kudos, we had I taught kids as young as fourth grade. So, and I've worked with kids younger than that because the school had kids as young as like first grade in it. Um, but I didn't teach any of those classes. I refused to teach those ones. I didn't like working with the little kids. It was just like, okay, you children are too small for me to work with you. I I just think like, okay, can somebody come can somebody come take these little hellions off of my hands, please? When so, as the director I hired and fired um and put together all the class architecture and curriculum and stuff. And so I said, okay, I will teach this. I'm obviously I'll coach the debate teams. I don't want to let anybody else do that, but I am not teaching the little kids. Sorry. I didn't mind working with the fourth graders. I only did fourth and fifth graders at Kudos if they were on the public forum debate team, and I handpicked them. I I went through all the classes and evaluated the students myself and handpicked the talented ones for the squad. That's a big reason why we were so successful. We had a feeder program, right? And you could leave all the scrubs in the feeder program and take all the good kids into the debate program. Anyway, so I worked with a lot of kids typed on, and no, I don't think your typing changed. I think, first of all, we need to remember that we need a definition for personality. And the best definition, the only operational definition of it, is aspects of the self that don't change throughout the course of your life. So, in other words, we need to start thinking about personality by framing the question in some way. There's a video on Talking to Thrift People of me when I'm 17 being interviewed on my high school news program. Not exactly interviewed. They have a panel of students from the high school. I'm on the panel. And the question they ask is about this prospective new law in Arcadia. And you can see when they get to me and I give my answers that I'm exactly the same guy I was back then. And so the question is, why? Why is my answer to the question way back then, and in an instance I don't remember except somebody shared the video with me on Facebook a few years back. Why would I give almost exactly the same answer now? And why do I sound like exactly the same guy? I talk the same kinds of ways about the same kind of thing. In this from when I was 17 years old. That's the question personality is attempting to answer. Why is it the case, or what is it that makes it the case that every day I wake up, I'm always Eric, the same guy, and Rachel, when she wakes up, she's always Rachel, the same lady, and we're not different people, you know? I mean, I don't like that existential crap, Katie, you know? No, you don't need to imagine Sisyphus happy. The alternative is to embrace the notion of genuine purpose. Sure, that may require you, depending on who you are, to additionally, or as a stepping stone to that, embrace the inclusion of magical thinking frame into your overarching rationalist perspective. The fact that they are contradictory is an illusion, sort of, because you use magical thinking frames for different reasons in different ways than you use rational thinking frames. So, in other words, determining a purposed identity via, say, religion or something is a perfectly viable alternative to trying to be happy with purposelessness. And that's not the only viable alternative, but it's one, right? So, I mean, the point I would make to Camus is, if you're right, why didn't you write the same book again? Right? It's a pretty damning critique. If you're correct, why didn't you write the same book again? The fact that we can't determine a universal teleology for individual being does not mean we should embrace the notion of purposelessness. That's just dumb. It doesn't mean it's not to say that that the idea we should embrace purposelessness is necessarily wrong. It's to say that's a terrible argument for it, right? Well, then he's not Sisyphean. Why do typists charge so much? I mean, I charge $100 because I don't like to work. So if I'm going to work, it needs to be worth my while. And, you know, well, the difference between ships and human beings are ships are static objects and human beings are dynamic systems. So, yes, you can take static objects apart, and that's an interesting philosophical question. Um, but the answer to it is very straightforward. Uh, it would depend entirely on whether we choose to perceive it as the same ship, right? Since functionally, in its identity and relationship to us, it never changes because each of the parts changes, but those part changes are just momentary disruptions of its stasis during which we can't use it. But if depending on where the hole is or whatever, you know. But the identity of the thing remains the same because its relationship to us doesn't change as its parts are replaced. It still functions as the same vehicle that we can be in. So these kind of questions are actually quite easy to answer generally because they're just tricks of language. This dumb cat wants me to watch him eat all the time. It's crazy how much this cat eats. Yes, it is. It's crazy how much it eats. You eat. You eat. It's crazy. Anyway, I was gonna go back to bread. The other thing to note is that biologics, the reason biology is called biology is because biological beings have logics of biology, which are different than, you know, have logics of bio, which are different than logics of inanimate objects. I don't know what happens after death. Nobody does. And the reason we know that nobody does is because nobody's ever been dead for a long stretch of time and then come back and told us what it was like. What's some signs of FI in a child? There's same signs of FI in anybody. Laughing, crying, you know. Those are emotions. Those are physical expressions of emotions. I gotta go back to bed. Hopefully I'll be able to sleep. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do actually. I'm going to take a couple of these gabapentins. And then I will wait for him to kick in a little bit, and then I'll go back to bed. You cry about it every night? You cry about what? Let's see. Oh, that is understandable to cry about that. You missing your potential as the mommy for MBTI. I didn't know that MBTI needed a mommy. Well, yeah, you do have to make money somehow in general, but that's not really my argument, right? It's that my argument is not I charge that much because I need to make money. My argument is I charge that much because I want to have a barrier to entry that prevents me from working a whole lot. But I also feel like it's good for me to do some typing sessions uh, because I'm doing it correctly. When people publish, it's helpful for others to see how it's done correctly. It doesn't mean I always get the type right, but I try my best to do the process right. Sometimes I do it better than others, you know. Um, because I'm uniquely good at typing, I feel like I have a responsibility, and also that it's just become so much part of who I am that I don't want to quit typing people entirely. But, you know, there's a certain amount of typing sessions per month. It's kind of like optimal sweet spot. I'm below that right now. I'm not really getting a lot of typing sessions, but above that would I just feel like okay, this is too much work. So that's why I do typing sessions. Why I charge $100. And the thing about charging $100 also is I think it's a fair price. Like I'm not trying to gouge people like C.S. Joseph charging whatever but ton of money he charges for nothing of value. Um, is asking existential questions a sign of high NI? Not necessarily. Uh, I've encountered plenty of people who are, say, enamored of determinism, who are definitely low intuition, certainly instrumental. I eliminated INFP because I'm not vegan. I heard this was a necessary requirement. That's good. Exactly. KE, you're right on the money. That is how to type people. You ask them a bunch of questions like, are you vegan? Do you sit by the window in a bulky sweater and cry? Okay, you're an INFP. I think you guys might have really done some good work here today. I think I might have another proof on the way. If I didn't live stream, I think I'd die of constipation. If I say to you, everybody wants to, how do you end that sentence? I'll be curious to read your answers when I'm done peeing. If I begin a sentence, everybody wants to, how do you end the sentence? What's the first thing that comes to mind? A question like that, a person's answers, how they answer that question, might be indicative in some way of certain things about cognitive function. If I ask the question in a bunch of typing sessions, I could possibly find a linkage of some sort. But it would be silly for me to do that without a clear hypothesis starting out that says, I think this question will be informative about meow for meow reason. And like in this instance, I have a hypothesis in mind, but I suspect it's wrong. Everybody wants to not have to sit through this. I actually just peed. I didn't end up having to poo. Well, I don't. No, of course I don't believe in determinism, because, and I can, in fact, I can definitively, essentially disprove determinism, or prove that nobody's adequately affirmed determinism. To affirm determinism meaningfully, you'd have to provide an example of a world in which people did have free will and time still moved forward linearly. If you can't provide that example, then you're not negating free will successfully. Everybody wants to die? No. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to die. That's true. So when I asked that question, I was thinking, in my head, what I was hearing was everybody wants to rule the world. The next thing I thought was everybody wants to be famous, which are songs. What I was thinking is that is indicative possibly of SI, but any above SI. Do I believe in God? Well, I self-identify as a Christian, and I pray, but I understand correctly that a magical thinking frame like God is not something that one uses because of argumentational reasons, right? It's like jogging. So I pray in the same way that I might go jogging. I don't have to have a reason to go jogging, right? Maybe it's just a habit I have. It makes me feel good or whatever. If I were to go jogging, you wouldn't say, do you believe in jogging? The answer is, well, I'm going jogging. So the same thing is true with God. Do I believe in God? Well, I pray to God because that's what one should do with God, right? Not affirm statements about it or negate statements about it. So, these sort of questions are almost all, like I said, easily enough answered if you understand how language works. If you understand how language works, then you understand that it would be self-contradictory to attempt to argumentationally establish the legitimacy of something that definitionally requires faith to engage in, and faith is defined as belief in the absence of evidence or in the face of contrary evidence. So obviously you can't argumentationally defend that. And you shouldn't even try. And to think that every frame of reference in your existence ought to be argumentationally defensible is insane. And that's coming from somebody for whom almost every single frame of reference is argumentationally defensible. But I see that as a deficit in myself, right? Like the distance I have from my subjectivities is not strength because I am so rational. It's a it's a skew, right? It's a configural skew. We're each configured to be some kind of car, not multiple kinds of cars. We're either configured to be a sports car or a truck or a minivan or whatever, And can can we in our sports car go off road and manage to drive some? Yeah, but that's not what our car is for. Can we in our off-roading buggy go on this drive on the street successfully? Yeah, but that's not what our car is for. No, that's definitely not true. Human glitches that when you detach from dualism, you become God. It's the thing about perspective is dualism is a very primitive understanding of perspective because, of course, we actually have three perspectives: subject, object, and observer. As I saw Joe chase the squirrel, right? The observer is I, the subject really is Joe, and the object is the squirrel. I didn't say all frames of reference are necessarily subjective. I said um, that because you know the the predominant frames of reference for me are almost all objective. That's not a good thing. It's not like it's better than being subjective. It's just the alternative and represents a deficit in subjectivity, not just a strength in objectivity, right? I like to focus more on the deficit because these terms are so loaded. Like a lot of people think objective means good or correct. A lot of people, so I try to use language well and be clear in what I mean. I envy people their ability to have faith in something they don't know or can't know. Well, you don't have faith, KE. You exercise faith. Remember, prayer is like jogging. It's so you don't have running, right? You run. What do I think about Leo Gura? I've never heard of him. Unless he's Leo from actualize.org. If it's Leo from actualize.org, um, that guy is a complete shyster. That's because you keep thinking that the exercise is something other than the exercise, right? It's not a thing that feels, right? You're practicing talking to God. You're not practicing it, that's what you're doing, right? Now, I mean, some people say a lot more words about that that behavior of theirs. And some people say a lot of bad words about that behavior of theirs that treat it as though it were an attribute they had or an object they possessed. But that's just because they're not good thinkers. They can't do the metacognition that I can do, and they don't have the level of sophistication of intellect that I have. So obviously they're not going to use words well. You shouldn't therefore listen to their words more. You should listen to their words less. Their words are less meaningful about the subject, right? So it may be true that people like my aunt, who's like a super hardcore Christian, would not be able to successfully tell you what her faith is, what it means, etc. You can rely on me to successfully tell you that. So she just engages in that behavior a shit ton and talks about that behavior as though it were something she had rather than a behavior. We don't want to say that because somebody engages in the behavior most frequently, that their words about the behavior are most accurate, right? We can reliably assume, as always, that my words are most accurate. Because that's what I do. That's who I am. That's how I roll. Suck it, motherfuckers. I'm the softest MFer on these YouTube screens. Well, we're going to have another cigarette before we go back to bed. So just deal with it. Deal with it. It's not about the behavior, it's about the conviction. I mean, you don't want that part of it, KE. So sure, some people who engage in the behavior have kind of a what you would call it a malignant expression of that behavior in their language. And we call that malignant expression of the behavior in their language conviction. You don't want that part of it. You want all the good stuff from a magical thinking frame and none of the bad stuff. Conviction essentially means a desire to advocate in favor of, if we operationalize it, right? Because unless it's expressed, then it's just the behavior going on in their head, right? So we need to always make a clear distinction between the actual behavior and the mistake of advocating in some way about that. One is a good thing, potentially at least. The other is definitely a bad thing. Obviously, a rational frame of reference is necessary for advocacies because you're saying we should agree about this. Which means you're saying use an objective frame of reference. You're saying treat this as though you were evaluating it from a disinterested perspective. Now, sure, we can make prescriptive advocacies, but those aren't the kind of advocacies that generally come into a lot of intellectual discourse or dispute or conversation or whatever. Like, oh, I mean, they can, but those conversations aren't very interesting to me. They're important, but they don't matter, right? Like, what should I invest in? Is a very important question, but it doesn't matter universally. generally advocacies regarding magical thinking frames are not advocacies about, or not prescriptive advocacies, unless somebody's saying, I'm really suffering right now, and someone goes, well, then come to the Lord. I mean, for me, my entrance into a magical thinking frame was via a prescriptive frame of reference, namely, um, I was trying to quit drinking. AA told me I should pray, so I did. And my sponsor intelligently said, nobody's telling you to believe anything, they're just telling you to pray. And that was really the beginning of unraveling all the questions regarding it, which I've now fully unraveled and have all the correct answers for. I mean, obviously, there's certain cosmological questions for which I have no answer, but then the correct answer is I don't have an answer for that, and nobody else does either, or else I'd have the answer for it. And yes, there is a single correct answer to all those kind of questions. And sometimes it's we don't know. Probably we can't know. People like them to be like an interpretation playground. Like, let's all play around with philosophy and feel like, life is deep and complicated, or I'm understanding things or whatever. But really, I've answered all the important philosophical questions. Well, I mean, the first thing I disagree with is him wasting like 18 minutes of my time before telling me what his point is the self is an illusion. It's like, come on already. What am I, 14 years old? The self is an illusion. Well, no. A singular identity across time is definitely not an illusion by any meaningful definition of the word illusion. If you were going to make any meaningful statements about that sort of thing, you'd of course need to define illusion first and define self. He doesn't even begin to attempt to do any of that sort of stuff. He just does like enlightenment theater for suckers. Enlightenment theater for suckers. That's what actualize.org is. That is an NI sum up that is absolutely perfect. Actualize.org is enlightenment theater for suckers. Bam. You might as well be interested in Teal Swan. It's like self-help theater for suckers. Or Twin Flames. Love relationship help for theater for suckers. Don't be taken in by that kind of bullshit. You're here. That's an amazing accomplishment. You are now hearing the truth about things. When the pot of gold's right in front of you, look at the pot of piss next to it and recognize it for what it is. Actualize.org is a pot of piss, and you are currently hearing God's honest truth about everything, the correct position about everything. So congratulations to you, and kudos for your excellent taste in live streams. Now all you got to do is better differentiate between piss and gold. They're both the same color, but very different. You shouldn't drink either of them, by the way. All right. On that wonderful note of self-aggrandizing finality, I shall wrap this up and go to bed. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. I love you all. And have a great day. I'll probably see you later.